Today we are going to talk about an amazing story out of the book of Kings, where the Israelite king literally set up foreign gods in the temple that God had made for himself to be holy unto himself, where he could meet his people. This is King Manasseh, and what is interesting about this is if you continue working through the book of Kings, you'll see a reference to Manasseh and how he had led Israel to sin. And on account of Manasseh, God had decided that he was going to wipe out and completely destroy Judah. So what did Manasseh do? He says it says here in verse 4, he built altars in the Lord's temple. Okay, you have to imagine that for a second. So we had the Lord's temple, which is dedicated to Jehovah, and he builds altars to other gods in this temple. In verse 5, in the two courtyards of the Lord's temple, he built altars for all the stars in the sky. So people are going into the temple of God, and they're worshiping the stars of the sky. You can kind of imagine of how irritating this might be to Jehovah. He passed his son through the fire. That's the foreshadowing of the practice we call today abortion. Practiced divination and omen reading. Conjured up underworld spirits, and he appointed magicians to supervise. He was an all-around bad guy. Verse 7, he put an idol of Asherah, and he had made in the temple. So people are walking back and forth in the temple, and they're walking past these different altars and what have you. And they didn't really know. They had become so comfortable with the gods, these other gods, that it was quite normal to have them associated in the temple of Jehovah. And so the question is, right, this is history, but history has a tendency to repeat itself. Do we have other gods in our hearts where God, Jehovah, should be the only one sitting on the throne? Do we have that? In our churches, do we have other gods sitting in the middle of the church? We're walking past and we see them and we notice them, but we've become so accustomed to it, we don't realize it is an abomination to God. Right? And so I'm asking my viewer to think about the fact that, wait a second, this might be happening to me in some way, shape, or form. And so we want to sit back and ask God, are there idols in my heart? Are there idols in the church? And just speaking of the church for a second, probably, according to observation, the biggest idol that sits himself in the church is mammon, right? And as a clue, right, if you're in an organization and they have this regular frequency of give me your money and you'll be rich discussions, that is a red flag indicating that mammon is sitting directly in the middle of the stage. Okay, if they're saying, well, give me 10% of your income and the windows of heaven will open and you'll be blessed beyond belief, well then guess what? Mammon is sitting in the middle of the stage. That is something I can guarantee you, and it is time to go look for a different organization. Another, I think, God that sits in our churches is intellectualism. They try to intellectualize everything. They try to be smart. And it's very interesting that some of what we see today in the churches is very similar to the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the experts of the law in Jesus' time. Right? Sometimes we read these texts and we think, that was a long time ago. Well, guess what? History repeats itself, right? The Pharisees and the Sadducees, they are among us today. They come across as very serious. They come across as very educated. They come across as very sincere. But Jesus said they were hypocrites. And this intellectualism that has seeped into the church, and these I think it'd be possible if I had a charismatic type person and that person were a literary analysis genius, that is, he might be a professor of literary analysis, I could give that atheist a Bible and say, look, I want you every Sunday to come up with a very good moral story to tell on Sunday morning, and I can make a megachurch out of him. Okay. We need more Spirit of God. We need more Holy Spirit. We need less intellectualism. We need less idols in our church. And so I just ask you to pray and think about what might be in your heart that is a stumbling block, because this is a serious thing. We cannot have other gods in our hearts. And keep in mind, God said, I'm going to wipe out Jerusalem because of this stuff. And so we need to be very careful that we're not falling into the same pattern. And if Manasseh could do it, then we are capable of doing it. And if that temple did it, then the church that we happen to be in is capable of doing it. So we hope you take this warning seriously. And if you do find something, it's my hope that we all clean it out.